Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Moy Style podcast. Today I'm gonna switch it up. I have assistant softball coach for the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma, Dakota Clouse, in Chickasha, Oklahoma, and I really want to pick her brain on college recruiting when it comes to the softball side of it. So I know a lot of parents and players out there. They have a lot of questions about this topic. They're trying to figure out where to get started, how to go about it, pretty much the whole process. So I figure I would bring on somebody like Dakota to help us out with this. So Dakota, how about you go ahead and introduce yourself so people can get to know you a little bit, and then we'll jump in with the questions.
Yeah, awesome. My name's Dakota Clouse. I graduated from Amber Pocasset. I left there on a full ride to go to Rose State. Played there for about a semester. I went through my fall and spring semester, got through to the fall of the next year, and then got a call from Jaden here at USAO needing a left fielder. So I transferred over here, got to play here for another semester in left field. Then my junior year in 2018, I moved to second base, started slapping. I'd never done that before, but definitely an adventure.
Right.
But that year we actually won the World Series in Florida. And then the year after that, still played second, still slapped, and we got to go to Missouri, and we took third there at the World Series. We set the longest consecutive win streak in softball, which was a really,
I remember
really
that.
cool
Yeah,
adventure.
that's awesome. Okay, well, now let me ask you this, and I don't mean to interrupt, but so what do you think made that team so great? The year that you guys won the whole thing.
Man, it had to have been just the fact that we were like this.
Right.
I had never been a part of a team before that had so much chemistry and, connected so well. I mean, I knew that every single one of those girls had my back, and they knew that I had theirs.
Right.
So that definitely having that chemistry made a world of a difference.
So you guys didn't lose a single game, right?
We would have lost. We lost there in my senior year.
No, the year that you guys won the World Series.
We definitely lost some at the beginning. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
got you. I thought you guys went undefeated all the way through.
No, we lost a couple there at the beginning, but definitely pulled through the rest of the season.
No, but that's still pretty awesome, though. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right in with the first question. So, what age do you normally recommend the kids starting to look for colleges in grade age or grade? I mean, either one. Like, when do you recommend starting doing the research?
So it's actually getting earlier and earlier, even since I've played ball. But typically, you're looking at about freshman, sophomore area in that age group.
Okay.
If you're serious about playing college softball, it's definitely important to kind of get ahead of the game, be able to use a big chunk of that time to do your research about different colleges and universities. Figure out what kind of coaching style you like. Make sure that the academics of each of these schools lines up with your personal goals. Definitely stuff like that.
Okay, so do you recommend if the players are in the area coming out to the practices and see what it's all about, or just reach out to the coaches first?
Either one, honestly. I mean, it's super easy. Just email us, if you're interested.
Right.
But we've had multiple people come here just to watch a practice or two. They'll sit out in the stands, kind of see the way we run a program,
Right.
See, what a typical day looks like. So either one, really.
Yeah, because I think that's a good idea. I mean, if you happen to be in the area, I mean, it's not a bad thing to go out and check it out and see if you like the coach, see if you like the program, and it's kind of what you think it is. So now the next thing is what's the best way to reach out to coaches? So like, do you send them an email? Do you just go to their games and try to introduce yourself, or what do you normally? What's the best way to go about it?
So that's actually a little bit of both. We will go, watch a couple tournaments here and there. We'll travel kind of all around this area and, through Texas, Kansas, But typically if you've got a school that you've got your sights set on and you have not been noticed by them per se, emails are great. Phone calls are also great, but typically, you've got coaches that can be pretty busy, aren't always in office,
Right.
So emails are always there for us to go and look back at. Those are definitely things that we look at every single day. I think it's really important. One of our suggestions is to put your full name and your hometown right there in the subject line. That
Right.
way, we kind of know what we're looking at.
Yeah, and make sure you put the right name down, because I interviewed Coach Ross. He's the as a former head baseball coach, and he said that he would get emails that pretty much with the wrong names
Yes.
and the wrong school names. So you might want to make sure you're putting the right name down. So
Definitely.
I thought it was kind of interesting. But now, when it comes to sending videos, what do you recommend sending that on the first email, or just wait until you introduce yourself and see if you hear back from the coaches? Like, so what's your take on that? Like, should you go ahead and send the videos right away or not?
I would say that it normally works best if you go ahead and send your introductory email,
Right.
kind of reaching out to that college coach and maybe asking about the program, letting them know you're interested. If you get a response, that's also a great time to go ahead and send that video. If you don't happen to get a response, don't be afraid to go ahead and send that video anyways.
Right.
So
Yeah, I don't think that you're gonna get in trouble for sending too many
no, definitely
emails.
not. You're not gonna bug us.
Right. Now, so if you get a video, what do you want to see? Like, do you want to see game highlights, or you want to just see the mechanics, or what do you want to see in the videos?
So definitely.
And I don't mean to interrupt. And how long should it be? Like, I don't, because the reason I ask this, because sometimes I feel like some players will send out a video for 20 minutes, and I don't think coaches want to sit there and
Right.
watch the whole thing. But
You're definitely looking at the shorter the better. So, we definitely want to hit touch on all of your skills, things that you have a lot of confidence in. Definitely highlight those different things. I think it's important to include both the highlight videos from your practices,
Right.
that you can show off those specific skill sets, but it's also really cool to be able to see the players reacting in real game time.
Right.
So, we can see how they're interacting with their teammates, how they read the ball, their attitude most of the time.
right.
Great things to be able to see.
No, that's pretty important. And what about the side of the video? Like, do you like the side view? Like, if you're in practice, you like the side view behind the catch? I'm talking about like a hitter. Like, what side would you like to see best? Like,
Typically, I like to be able to see it from behind the backstop.
okay.
That gives me a really good idea of where their hands are traveling.
Right.
If how well they stay inside the ball.
Right.
All that good stuff.
And then ball flight and all that good stuff. Okay, awesome. So now, what about? Because I know a lot of players out there. A lot of players want to go Division I, but I know that some kids still don't know what it takes to play Division I level. So, how do they know where they stand? I mean, are they a JUCO type, a junior college type of player? Are they a NAIA? Are they Division II? Like, how do they know what kind of player they are at the moment?
I believe the best way to go about that is to start early and kind of throw out some feelers. So if you're attending quite a few camps or showcases, prospect camps, all that, all those types of things,
Right.
you're going to be getting feedback from different coaches. If you're getting a ton of attention from NAIA coaches, that's probably, about the area that you're in. If you're getting a ton of attention from D1s or JUCOs,
Right.
Just depending on which ones you're getting quite a bit of attention from. There's also some really cool camps that I've went to this past year. They'll bring in the college coaches, and you do a day of a camp and then a day of tournament.
Okay.
And they actually will the college coaches will sit down and do an assessment of you after you've done the camp and while you're doing the tournament.
Right.
So they're kind of assessing you on, your fundamentals, your mindset or your attitude, and typically, just where they believe you would rank based off of that weekend.
Right.
That's not definitive, because like I said, it is just one weekend, but it's really cool to be able to see, maybe where you stand at
Right.
that time.
Okay, so what would be a big turnout for coaches when you're getting emails or videos?
So kind of like you mentioned before, we'll get some here and there where, they'll send in an email and it might have a different coach's name, or maybe even a different university's name, or
Right.
things that just small things like that, kind of show that it maybe was a copy and paste type deal.
Right.
But super important to make each one, its own reach out.
Right, and the reason why I asked this, because a lot of players will make it too general, and so you kind of want to personalize it and kind of send it out to the school and kind of introduce yourself with the right name, not just the the wrong name. So I think that's pretty important because I think a lot of people will send out a bunch of general emails and then they wonder why they don't hear back from the coaches. So okay, so now when it comes to showcase tournaments, so what do you recommend? Are they worth going to, or what's your take on that, on showcase tournaments?
I think showcase tournaments are very beneficial. I would say that that's probably my second biggest way to go find a kid.
Right.
I know that, some of them can be, a little bit disappointing in the way that maybe there's not as many college coaches there as you thought there would be, or maybe they're all at one field,
Right.
which can happen. But typically you can actually look at the organization's website, and most will let you know which coaches have notified that they'll be there. If you're interested in a school, we have kids all the time email us and let us know which showcases they'll be at. So if you're interested in maybe 2 or 3 different schools and would like them to come, watch you, and if they've got the time, you can let them know that you'll be there and what position you're playing, what team you're on.
Right.
Definitely kind of send some feelers out there for that.
No, that's awesome because I think it's pretty important to also figure out what travel ball team you should be playing for when it comes to showcase tournaments, because you don't want to just play for anybody and then they don't even have any type of connections or even doing the homework yourself. Just like she's saying, you gotta kind of start sending out emails, and then if they're in the area, they'll come watch you. So I think that's pretty important. So now let's say you have once you're getting offers, so you're getting multiple offers from schools. So how do you decide which school to pick? I mean, what do you go? Like, do you choose more towards academics or athletics or the coaches, or what do you recommend?
I think first and foremost, you should go where you're valued. That's one of the biggest things that we push over here is that,
Right.
If you're somewhere where you are valued, by your coach, by your teammates, by your professors, that's where you're going to be the happiest.
Right.
I believe that it is, 100% important to make sure that the school that you choose aligns with your goals academically.
Okay.
So if you're looking at a certain degree and, you love this school's softball program, but they don't have that degree, and maybe might need to learn a little bit more about this softball program, but they've got everything you need.
Right.
I would definitely suggest leaning more that way, just because, you're going to find if you're at a great school, with a great softball program, you're going to go find good softball.
Right.
You're going to go compete. You're going to have that good competition. But softball lasts for 4 years.
Right.
And if you're lucky, you get to go and you can play pro.
That's a great point.
But softball lasts 4 years. But your education is what you're here for first and foremost.
Right. Now, what about if they want to play, because this is a 4-year school. So let's say they're not ready yet. They're not physically, because some players are not physically or mentally ready to play at a 4-year school. So do you recommend going the junior college route, or should you just go ahead and go straight into a 4-year school and kind of see what happens?
So I am a huge fan of JUCO.
Right.
I was one of those people that wasn't quite ready to step into a 4-year right out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
There were some little areas that were noticeable that would affect my consistency.
Right.
I knew that going into college, I needed to be on the left side at the plate.
Right.
But never having done that before, I knew that I was going to be behind any other slapper at a 4-year.
Right.
So I knew that my best chance at getting a bunch of reps and getting, the help that I needed to be the slapper that I wanted to be, and, even the middle infielder that I wanted to be,
Right.
was to go the JUCO route. And that absolutely helped me.
Right. And honestly, myself, I did the same thing. I went to a junior college first, and I felt like I matured so much more, coming in as a junior, because I came to this same school, USAO, when I was a junior, and I was a lot more mature, because I feel like sometimes girls will get overwhelmed, especially when they coming out of high school and they're playing against, girls that are seniors, juniors and seniors. I mean, 2 or 3 years makes a big difference.
For sure.
These girls are a whole lot stronger. They're more mature. So obviously you may feel overwhelmed at first. So now, once you're in college, so what do you think makes a successful athlete here in college?
So I believe that what would make a successful athlete is having your priorities on track before, and mainly before you even get to that point. So I know that if I come in here and it's really important for me to, make good grades, try my best out here on the field, and, build a relationship with my teammates and my coach.
Right.
Those are going to be the things that I focus on to make myself successful. It's really important to have a growth mindset over a fixed mindset as well. Right. So if you come in, there's a huge, it's a huge deal to be able to come in to a college setting after leaving your travel ball team or your school ball team that you were probably the star,
Right.
But at this level, especially at these top ranked schools, everybody's good.
Right.
Everybody's going to be good. So if you've got a growth mindset that tells you that here's my ceiling and I've got to push through it,
right,
because that's everybody's ceiling, that's where you can be successful. Now, if you have that fixed mindset where these are my talents, these are my skills, and that's what they are, that's what they'll be,
right,
you tend to kind of fall behind.
No, that's awesome. Because I think, and honestly, like even I coach younger kids, and one thing that I tell them now that you're talking about learning how to talk to coaches, because I feel like some kids will come up to the coaches just complaining instead of learning how to talk to the coaches, ask them what they have to do to earn whatever position they're trying to earn. And I do the same thing with the younger ones. And I think for a lot of travel ball coaches out there, I think you should allow your kids at a young age to be able to talk to you and learn how to actually talk to coaches. So when they get to a school like this, they're not so scared to talk to the coaches, or basically afraid to say the wrong thing or come across the wrong way. So I think that's pretty important.
That's a great point.
Now, what about, so, I'm telling you this because I've seen it before. So, or I'm asking you this because I've seen it before. But why do you think some kids will quit college? Like, why can't they make it through? Because sometimes, and I'll say this because, I remember in the fall we would get a bunch of players, and then in the spring I'm like, where's everybody else?
Where'd they go?
Right. So why do you think college players will end up quitting sometimes?
So I've seen a ton of different situations throughout my softball career and my career of coaching.
Right.
And I mean, man, it can range from being a little bit too far away from home, especially we see it a lot in girls. So you'll see a lot of these girls be very connected with their families and their friends, their hometowns, and they move just a little bit too far away, and it's just, maybe
right.
not the best fit for them.
Right.
So we have quite a few, if they're not from the local area, maybe want to just get a little bit closer to home. Mm-hmm. We talked about it earlier about how some girls will get some great job opportunities. They'll,
right.
Right in the middle of their softball career will get a great job opportunity. And like we talked about softball last 4 years, so we're
right.
always pushing them and supporting them, go chase that dream.
Right.
So, but, there's also the instances where you have the fixed mindset. And so if you are, say you're competing for a spot at second base, mm-hmm. and this girl might be just, maybe she's got a little bit of a smoother transfer or maybe a little bit of a better bat, and all it would take is, a little bit of extra effort, a little bit of more time in the cage,
right.
a little bit of more time after practice, just a little bit more of that effort
right.
to be just as good, if not better, right?
Right.
But sadly, unfortunately, you see these kids with the fixed mindsets choose to believe that this is all I can do.
Right.
She's just better than me. And
right.
so you'll see them kind of falling off that path, and typically will end up either deciding to transfer, go somewhere else, or, deciding that maybe
it's not for her.
Not for her, yep.
Right. That's a good point. And honestly, like a lot of people quit too soon.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize that if you put in a little bit of work, I mean, it goes a long ways. I'm telling you, when I was a freshman, when I was a junior, I was a whole lot better player than when I was a freshman.
Sure.
I was a lot more mature. I put in the work, and I'm sure it's the same way,
mm-hmm.
with softball. I mean, I think as long as you stick with it, I mean, it goes a long ways. Okay, well, that's some great stuff. And how I know you pretty much already mentioned this, but how important is to build a great relationship with the coaches and the players here at the school?
That is one of the biggest things that we focus on here at USAO. Jaden's a wonderful coach. She is definitely a player's coach, which was, one of the things that I loved most about her.
Right.
I think, it allowed me to put trust in her, and put faith in her and know that she wanted what was best for me.
Right.
And man, it made me want to run through a wall for her,
Right.
And so I've, learned that from her and picked up on that. And, we've got that same relation going with every single one of our girls now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, and the reason why I asked that too is because, you never know where you're gonna end up after school. Because I can tell you from my own experience, the reason why I started in baseball is because one of my buddies, one of my teammates, pretty much got me started. So you never know when you're gonna need your coaches. You gotta make sure you build up good relationships. Just after you graduate, you want to be able to stay in touch with them. Just you never know when you're gonna need each other. So. Now, we're going to wrap it up. By the way, all this has been great information so far. So hopefully people stuck around till this point. I think it's very educational for a lot of parents and players out there. But we're going to wrap it up with 4 questions here. So, and I've been asking this to everybody. So if you think back to a team that you've coached before, you don't have to be saying names, okay? Because I don't want to put you in a spot here. So what made that team so successful and why? Well, I guess I asked that wrong. So why do you think that's your favorite team and what made them so successful?
So there is one team that sticks out to me quite a bit. I'm probably one of the most sentimental people you'll ever meet.
Right.
So I'm huge on the connection, the chemistry, the family, the family type of.
Atmosphere.
Yes.
Right.
And so we've had a couple teams that, will come through and we definitely push those type of values, and stuff like that. But there was definitely one team that really took that to heart, took it and ran with it.
Right.
And, especially in softball, it's really cool to be able to see these girls become family and become, so close with each other.
Right.
It completely changes the dynamic of their game.
Right.
You can have a team here that, you could have a team full of All-Americans that just don't play well together because they can't connect.
Right.
And you'll have a team that might be full of the diamonds in the rough but are just like this, and they'll go beat that team.
Right.
And we've seen it happen multiple times, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about your favorite? Again, you don't have to be saying names, but what's your favorite player that you've ever coached?
That's a tough one. Like I said, I'm sentimental, so I love every single one of these girls.
Right.
But that question it brings a memory to my head that it was actually the moment that made me decide that I for sure wanted to be a college coach. Mm-hmm. We had a kid not too long ago that came in and had transferred here, wasn't at her most confident, didn't feel like she was at her best, and it was kind of low,
Right.
Big power hitter, but just wasn't quite hitting the ball, and that confidence is huge, and she just wasn't there.
Right.
So she came to me asking for, some advice, maybe some help, and man, we busted that out for weeks, working out those little things that, were maybe holding her back a little bit, working on that confidence, believing in herself,
Right.
making that a really big priority. And then it was really cool to see, we go to Kansas and she gets her opportunity.
Right.
She comes in to pinch hit, a huge situation, and absolutely just ropes one.
Awesome.
Frozen ropes, center field, and just the biggest smile on her face, and then it all came back. She was that player again, just regained all of that confidence. So
right.
Definitely one of the most surreal moments as a coach.
That's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What about the opposite of it? So what's your least favorite player to coach?
Man. Okay. So, there are definitely some things here and there that, could make a bad player. Honestly, if we're being completely honest, it was myself for the longest time. I was my least favorite player for the longest time. And only because, I had a fixed mindset there for a while. It was really hard for me to believe in myself to the point that, you can get better. You might be smaller than everybody else. You may not be as strong as everybody else,
Right.
but there is an up from here. But what made me what I considered a bad player, was that fixed mindset, you know, I let it bleed into my game. So I would have, you know, bad attitude, you know, maybe, you know, wasn't the greatest teammate,
Right.
you know, but looking back, it was really important for me. That's why I say it is really important to go JUCO if you feel like you may not be ready for that sort of thing, you know, for a 4-year.
Right.
Because that, you know, going to a JUCO taught me a lot, you know, and the coaches there, my teammates that I had there were super beneficial when it came to developing me as a player and a person. So.
Right. Yeah. No, that's awesome. What about biggest pet peeve as a coach?
Oh, man, my biggest pet peeve would have to be when I see a kid, maybe after, you know, a tough loss or maybe a bad game, you know, something like that. Stuff's not going your way. You're 0 for, you know, but you come back maybe after the game and showing the disrespect or, you know, the kind of rude attitude to parents.
Yeah.
So, you know, typically we'll play on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you know, so and we've got a packed crowd every single game.
Right.
You know, all the parents are there, all the friends and the families, you know, and these people are taking off work, you know.
Right.
They're traveling all over the place. They're following us all over the country, you know.
Wow.
And it's really cool to see that support, you know, and you can look up there in the stands and see how much pride there is, you know, and being able to watch their kid go play college softball and, you know, thrive in this environment. And so it definitely is a pet peeve of mine to see a bad game and then maybe a little disrespect, you know, you get the old dad, carry my bag, you know.
Yeah. I hate that. Yeah. Do you I'm not trying to get off topic here, but have you ever had any players that, you know, talk back to their parents in the middle of the game?
100%.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And you see it. I mean, you see it at this level. You see it at the high school level.
Right.
And typically it comes down to a little bit of immaturity, you know.
Right.
And it's just something I don't like to look at it as that's who you are and that's what you do. You know, I see it as a learning moment. I think that, you know, I had a lot of things to learn back then when I was playing, and I think that our job is not only to come out here and tell them how, you know, to play softball and develop them as players, but one of the most important things that we do is develop them as people. You know, we want them, one of our main goals is to help them be the best woman they can be once they're done here.
Right.
You know, and that's all around, not just playing.
No, that's pretty important. Well, Dakota, I really appreciate you for your time today. Again, it's been awesome information. I hope a lot of viewers at home or listeners, they learn a lot from this interview. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube and would like to watch more videos like this, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and remember, keep it Moy Style. Hey guys, Moy Style Baseball here. If you're interested in having me come out to your city for a fielding camp or a hitting camp, or if you're in the Oklahoma area and you're looking for private lessons or group lessons, you can shoot me a text at 251-509-3815. You can also email me at moystyle33@gmail.com. Keep it Moy Style.